Hi, fourth grade. Here's our second lesson for the week number 24, the week of March 8th through March 12th. We are on our last lesson for Module 8, so that means next week we'll be starting a new module. So we're going to be solving multi-step problems and assessing for reasonableness. Now the assessing for reasonableness is not going to be, we're not going to be doing the rounding, we're just going to solve these multi-step word problems. It's going to be enough basically work that we have to do to solve the word problem, and the rounding always gets in the way. Every year I've tried it, not every year, but I have tried it, and it makes it too difficult for kids to have to do the rounding too, or the reasonableness. So we're just going to get right into it, and we're just going to be solving the multi-step word problems. Okay? So Mr. A designed a mural that will cover 340 square meters of an old factory wall. He and some volunteers have collected 13 gallons of paint to complete the mural. Each gallon of paint will cover 37 square meters. Is there enough paint to fill the mural? If so, how many additional square meters could be painted? So, what is the information that they want us to find when we're all done doing all of our work? Well, the information they're wanting to find is there enough paint? Do we have enough paint? So basically, is there enough paint? That is the information they want us to find. So we're going to underline the information that we need to solve this problem. So I'm going to kind of highlight it in sections. So what's going to go together, okay? So we know that the mural will cover 340 square meters of the old factory. Okay? So that is how much total space needs to be covered. Okay, so Mr. A and his volunteers have collected 13 gallons of paint, and each gallon will cover 37 square meters. So here are our two steps. So this information goes together, right? Our 13 gallons of paint, and every one of these gallons covers 37 square meters. Then once we figure out how much paint is available, then we need to find the difference between what we have available with how many square meters of the factory can they cover. Okay? So our first step is to multiply. Right? How can we solve this problem? First step is to multiply 13 by 37. Our second step is to subtract 340 from the answer, or the product, right? From the answer here, from that answer. Okay? So, our first step, we're going to multiply. So 13 times 37. Now, if you want to do area model, do area model. If you want to do partial products, you can do partial products, or if you just want to do standard algorithm, you choose. You choose the way you like best. I'm just going to do the standard algorithm way, but you choose the way you like best and just check your answer against mine. So standard algorithm, 3 times 7, 21. 1 times 7 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. Then I put a 0 here. 13. Okay. Now I have 3 times 3. Sorry, my brain is not working. 3 times 3 is 9, and 1 times 3 is 3. So this is how many square meters the paint can cover. We can see that they only need 340 square meters. But let's see how many, because look at, there was the second question. If so, how many additional square meters could be painted? So we know right now to solve the problem, we could say yes, there is enough paint, right? Because we can already see that. If this is the amount of paint they have that can, the paint they have can cover 481 square meters, and they only need to cover 340 meters, we know there is enough paint. But we need to solve the second part. How many additional square meters could be painted? So we are now going to subtract. So 481 minus 340. Remember, we have to put the bigger number on top. If this number had been smaller, then we would have had to reverse it. But this number is smaller, so we need to make sure that big number goes on top. So 1 minus 0 is 1. 8 minus 4 is 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. So there are 141 extra square meters of paint. So they could do another partial mural, right? They could definitely do more because they've got still 141 square meters of paint extra. Okay? Alrighty. So, we're going to move on to number 2. At Hansel's orchard, 48 apples can fit in a basket. One day, Mr. Kelvin and some friends pick enough apples to fill 28 baskets. It takes 8 apples to make a jar of applesauce. How many jars of applesauce can Mr. Kelvin make from these apples? So, what information is given to us? Well, we know that 48 apples can fit in a basket, right? 48 apples in a basket. Got my ass. We know that one day Mr. Kelvin and some friends pick enough apples to fill 28 baskets. So they fill 28 baskets. And then it takes 8 apples to make a jar of applesauce. So 8 apples equals 1 jar of applesauce. That's the information they gave us, right? So how are we going to solve the problem? Well, what is our first step? Our first step is going to be to figure out how many apples they picked. If 48 apples can fit in a basket and they filled 28 baskets, then we need to take these two and multiply them together. So our first step is to multiply 48 times 28. Then our second step, we know that it takes 8 apples to make 1 jar of applesauce. And we're trying to find out how many jars of applesauce he can make. So we're going to have to take our answer and divide it by 8. So divide answer by 8. So those are our 2 steps. Our first step is to multiply, and our second step we need to divide. So now we're going to solve it. So let's do our first step. 48 times 28. Again, you choose. Which way is your favorite way? Which way do you feel the most confident? Which way are you the most successful? 8 times 8 is 64. Whoops. I do that sometimes. You say the first number and you want to put it there. 4 times 8 is 32. 32 plus 6 is 38. Then we put a 0 in our ones place. 8 times 2 is 16. Regroup our 1. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. 4 plus 0 is 4. 8 plus 6, 14, 13. So we have 1,344 apples were picked. That's a lot of apples. I wonder how many friends they had, because it said, and some friends. That's a lot of apples to pick. So we have 1,344 apples that were picked. Now, we need to divide that answer by 8 because we're trying to figure out how many jars they can make. Now, again, we've learned a couple of different ways to divide. Remember, we learned that we could divide using the standard algorithm. We could use the partial quotients. Whichever way you feel the most comfortable dividing. All right? So we have 1,344 divided by 8. So I know there's nothing in my 0, right? Or in my 1. So I'll have a 0 here. 0 times 8 is 0. 1, I bring down my 3. 8 times what? Gets me close to 13 without going over. 8 times 1. So 8 times 1 is 8. 13 minus 8. Let me get this more focused. It's a little blurry. It's 5. I bring down my 4. 8 times what gets me close to 54? 8 times 6. 8 times 6 is 48. I need to regroup. 14 minus 8 is 6. And then I bring down my 4. And then 8 times 8 is 64. So, how many jars of applesauce can Mr. Kelvin make? Mr. Kelvin can make 168 jars of applesauce. Again, we're not going to do the reasonableness. Okay, so we have to first multiply and then divide to get our answer for this one. All right, so now we're going to check for understanding. Okay, so Savannah earned money one summer by mowing lawns. She earned $23 for each of the 19 lawns she mowed. She earned $60 in tips. How much money did she earn? All right, so for every lawn she mowed, she earned $23. Right? So those two things go together. And then she earned $60 in tips. So that's like the extra. So what do you think our steps are for this one? So number 1 is to multiply. We know that she earned $23 for every lawn and she mowed 19 lawns. So 23 times 19. If you have extra paper, you might want to do the work on extra paper. That's fine. You don't have to try to squeeze it in, but if you have small enough writing and can write it in here, then you can. So our first step is to multiply. So 3 times 9 is 27. 2 times 9 is 18 plus 2 is 20. 0. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. Add them together. $437 is how much she earned mowing the lawns. Now she got some tips. So she earned $60 in tips. So we've got to add her tips into the total she got just for doing the work. So we're going to add, so 437. So for our second step, 437 plus 60. 7 plus 0 is 7. 3 plus 6 is 9. 4 plus nothing is 4. So she earned $497 altogether for mowing lawns. That's pretty good. Kids don't do that kind of stuff nowadays. They don't go around mowing lawns. You could make a good chunk of money in the summer. All right, number 2. A large box of dishwasher detergent costs $14. A new dishwasher costs 45 times that price. How much does a dishwasher and 3 boxes of detergent cost? Ooh, my goodness. This is quite a couple step problem. Okay, so large box of dishwasher detergent costs $14, and we want 3 boxes of them. And the dishwasher costs 45 times as much as the box of detergent. So we need to use that $14 twice, 2 times. This is actually going to be a 3-step problem. our first step is to figure out how much does the dishwasher cost. And it says that the new dishwasher costs 45 times this price. So this would be 45 times 14. 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 4 is 16. Plus 2 is 18. 0. 5 times 1 is 5. 4 times 1 is 4. 0. 13. 6. So our dishwasher costs $630. Okay? Now we want to know how much does a dishwasher and 3 boxes of detergent cost. So 3 boxes of detergent would be 14 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So $42 for detergent. Now I want to know how much they cost together. So my third step is together. Just putting some little clues so that way I know. This is my dishwasher. This is my detergent, my 3 boxes. And then this is going to be them together. So 630 plus 42. So we have a 2. 3 plus 4 is 7. And then 6. So $672 is how much a dishwasher and 3 boxes of detergent cost. All right, so we're on the on your own section. You can pause and do this independently, and then come back and check your answers, or you can stay right with me. If you do the pause and come back, you're going to not check if your answer is reasonable. You're not going to be doing number 6. You're not going to check if your answer is reasonable, and you're not going to do number 11. Okay? Alrighty. So, number 3. A middle school graduation is taking place in a theater with 2,817 seats. The school has 519 graduating students. Each student brings 4 guests. How many seats will be available for staff and teachers after the students and guests have been seated? Okay. So the first thing I'm thinking is, well, we need to first figure out how many total people are going to be at this graduation, right? So we know that there are 519 seniors that are graduating, and each one of those kids can bring 4 guests. So our first step is to figure out how many people there are with students and guests. So I'm going to label that students and guests. Sorry, that isn't right either. First we're finding out how many guests are coming. So we need to take our graduating seniors and multiply it by how many guests they can each have. So first we're figuring out the guests. I apologize. That wasn't what I meant. All right, 9 times 4 is 36. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7, and 5 times 4 is 20. So this is how many guests. Now our second step is to figure out how many seniors or students and guests are going. Okay? Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. That's our second. So our first step was to figure out, well, how many guests can even go? If there are this many graduating students and this many guests can come for each one of these, then we need to multiply. Now we're going to need to add, because we know that there are going to be this many guests that can go, and there are this many graduating students that are going to need seats as well. So we're going to add those together. So 9 plus 6, 15. 1 plus 7 plus 1 is 9. 5 plus 0 is 5. And then 2 plus nothing is 2,595. So that's how many seats they need for the students and the guests. There are 2,817 seats in the auditorium, or in the theater. So in order to figure out how many staff and teachers can go, we have figured out we need to figure out the difference between these two to figure out for the staff and teachers. And that means we need to subtract. So we have 2,817 minus 2,595. 7 minus 5 is 2. We need to regroup. 11 minus 9 is 2. 7 minus 5 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. So there can be 222 seats available for staff and teachers. So this was a 3-step problem because we had to figure out how many guests were going, how many students and guest seats were needed, and then you could find out how many seats were left over. All right, number 4. There are 23 adults on school buses for a field trip. There are 17 times as many students as adults on the field trip. If each of the 9 school buses used for the field trip have about the same number of students, how many students go on each bus? Interpret the problem and the remainder for this situation. So that is already telling me when it says interpret the problem and the remainder that there's got to be some division in here, right? That's already a clue when they put that in there. So let's see, what do we need to do first? Well, there are 23 adults on the school buses, and there are 17 times as many students. Remember that times as many means we need to multiply. So our first step is to figure out how many students are going. Okay? So 23 times 17. 3 times 7 is 21. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 2 is 16. 0 in the ones place. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. Add together. So there are 391 students going. So our second step is to figure out, well, how many students and adults? So how many seats are going to be full? How many people are going to be on this bus? So students and adults. So we know there are 391 students and there are 23 adults. So we're going to add those together. 1 plus 3 is 4. 9 plus 2 is 11. 3 plus 1 is 4. So there are 414 total people that are going to be on these buses. Now, if there are 9 school buses being used for the field trip, we want to know how many students go on each, or how many people, right, go on each bus. Oh, I'm sorry. I misread this. We only want the students. So this is only a 2-step problem. That's my bad. I'm sorry. You're probably screaming at me behind your computer. Wait, Mrs. Blair-Wilcox, we don't care about the adults right now. We just want to know how many students are on the buses. Sorry about that. We just want to know how much number of students. My bad. Okay, so we just had to use the adult number to help us figure out how many students were on the bus. Okay. So now our second step, sorry about that, is to divide 391 by the 9 school buses to figure out how many students are on each bus. So there are no 9s and a 3. So 0 times 9 is 0. 3. Bring down my 9. 9 times what gets me close to 39? 4. 4 times 9 is 36. 9 minus 6 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. Bring down my 1. 9 times what gets me close to 31? 9 times 3. 3 times 9 is 27. Oops, not plus, minus. Regroup. 11 minus 7 is 4. And so that's my remainder. So technically my answer is 43, remainder 4. However, it says for the field, they have about the same number of students on the bus. How many go on each bus? And then interpret the problem and the remainder. So we have 43 buses, or 43 students. So 4 of the buses are going to have 44 students. And 5 buses will have 43 students. Because these 4 extra students have to get on one of the buses, but you have to spread them equally or evenly. So 1 kid is going to go, of each of these 4, you're going to put 1 kid on 4 of the buses. So you'll have 4 buses with 44 students, but then you'll have 5 buses, right, with 43, because there's a total of 9 buses. Okay? Sometimes those are really tricky when you're doing those remainder ones. They can get really tricky. So just have to really be focusing on what are they looking for? How am I going to interpret this remainder? Remember when we were doing those lessons before. Okay, number 5. A loader uses a forklift to put 4 boxes that each weigh 158 pounds onto a truck. Then he loads 3 more boxes that each weigh 235 pounds onto the same truck. How many pounds of boxes did the loader put on the truck? Okay, so we have 4 boxes, and each of those weigh 158 pounds. And then we have 3 boxes that each weigh 235 pounds. And all of those boxes, all 7 boxes are going on the same truck. But we need to figure out how many total pounds are getting put on the load on the truck. So our first step are the 4 boxes. So we have 158 pounds each, and there are 4 boxes. So we're going to multiply. 8 times 4 is 32. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 is 23. 1 times 4 is 4, plus 2 is 6. So that's 632 pounds for the 4 boxes. Our second step is to find the 3 boxes. So we're going to have 235 times 3. 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So the 3 boxes weigh 705 pounds. Now I want to know how many pounds altogether, total. So I'm going to have to add our 2 totals. So our third step is the total. So 705 plus 632. 5 plus 2 is 7. 0 plus 3 is 3. 7 plus 6 is 13. So there are 1,337 pounds. I didn't model equations because my equations are over here. So I'm not going to write them on the line because you can see them right here. We had to multiply, and then add. Alrighty, our last couple. Number 7. 5,000 seat stadium is having its seats repainted. So far, 6 sections with 236 seats and an additional 193 seats have been repainted. How many seats still have to be repainted? So we've got 6 sections that have 236 seats, and then an additional 193 seats have been painted. So it didn't say with 236 seats each. It just says 230 seats must be in the 6 sections, and then an additional 193. They didn't write this one very well. 6 sections with 236 seats. It doesn't say each. So 236 plus an additional 193 seats. So our first step is to figure out How many seats have been painted? 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 4. And then there are 5,000 seats in the stadium. So we're going to need to find the difference to find the ones that have not been painted. So unpainted. So 5,000 minus 429. So I need to regroup. Remember when we had the cross the zeros? We could go down and change this to the 4. These two become 9s. And then this is a 10. 10 minus 9 is 1. 9 minus 2 is 7. 9 minus 4 is 5. And then 4. So 4,571 seats still need to be repainted. Now that answer isn't what the book gives, but because they didn't put each in here, we have to read it at face value. And they said 6 sections with 236 seats. This tells me that there are 236 seats total in those 6 sections. If they had said 6 sections with 236 seats each or in each section, then we would multiply, which I think that's what they wanted initially, but they didn't write that way. So we're going to do it the way it is written. Number 8. Manuela read a book that was 6 times longer than Jillian's 139-page book. Lydia read a book that was 292 pages shorter than Valerie's 832-page book. How many pages did Manuela and Lydia read? Hoo-wee! This one's got some steps to it. Well, let's just take it piece by piece. Manuela is the one we want first. And she read a book that's 6 times longer than Jillian's 139-page book. So our first step is Manuela, so our M. So 139 times 6. Remember, it's 6 times longer. 9 times 6, 54. Regroup my 5. 3 times 6, 18. 18 plus 5, 23. 1 times 6 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So Manuela's book is 834 pages long. Lydia read a book that was 292 pages shorter than Valerie's 834-page book. So number 2 is Lydia. So let's put an L. 834 minus 292. 4 minus 2 is 2. Regroup here. 13 minus 9. 4. 7 minus 2 is 5. So Lydia's book was 542 pages. How many pages did Manuela and Lydia read? So we just want Manuela and Lydia. So we want 8. So our third step is Manuela plus Lydia. So 834 plus 542. 1,376 pages. All right, number 9. A skyscraper has 62 floors. Of those floors, 58 have 39 offices, and the other 4 floors have 26 offices. How many offices are in the skyscraper? So 58 have 39 offices. So that's our first step. So our first step is to find out how many offices are in the 58 floors. So 58 times 39. 8 times 9 is 72. 5 times 9 is 45 plus 7. 52, sorry. Put a 0 here. 8 times 3 is 24. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2 is 17. Add those together. 2, 6, 12, 2. So that's how many offices are in the first 58 floors. Then we have 4 floors with 26 offices. So, 4 floors have 26 offices. I wish they would have put each, because it sounds like this one, right? It sounds like this one up here, if you're reading it at face value. So our second step is the next one. So we have 26 times 4. 24, 2 times 4 is 8, plus 2 is 10. So now we need to add them together for the total. I'm going to move that over here because I'm going to need some room for this one down here. So we have 2,262 plus 104. So there are 2,366 offices. Okay, and number 10, last one. An airplane flies from Los Angeles to Chicago and back every day. How many minutes is the plane in flight during a 7-day week? So, to Chicago, it's 237 minutes. From Chicago to Los Angeles is 278 minutes. So our first step is to figure out, well, how many total minutes is the plane in the air in one day? Because if they're going to Chicago and then back to Los Angeles, right, they're going back and forth once every day, we're going to need to add these two together. So our first step is our total minutes per day. So 278 plus 237. So 8 plus 7, 15. 7 plus 3 is 10, plus 1 is 11. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So the plane is in the air for 515 minutes every day. And they want to know how many minutes the plane is in the air, in the flight, in a 7-day week. So we're going to need to multiply. Our second step is to multiply. So this is 7 days. 515 times the 7 days. 5 times 7 is 35. 1 times 7 is 7, plus 3 is 10. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 1 is 36. So the plane is in flight for 3,605 minutes after 7 days. All right. So those multi-step problems do take a while to complete. Trying to find the homework in here. Here we go. So you don't have to do any sort of assessing the reasonableness. So like on number 3, just solve it. You don't have to do how can you check if your answer is reasonable. So 1, 2, and 3, but don't do the reasonableness on the front. And then on the back, you're good with everything on the back. All right. So please make sure that you are solving these one-step problems. If you don't have enough room on the paper, and do a separate sheet, but then just make sure I get a copy of the second sheet. So if you send it to school, send me that second sheet, or that sheet that you do the work on, or make a copy of it when you're emailing it or texting it to me. Okay? So just make sure that I get your work so I can see how you solved your problem. So that way I can give you some partial credit. If I see that you're on the right track, or you did, say it's a 3-step problem, you did 2 of the steps correctly and 1 step, there was a little bit of a mistake, I can give you some partial credit than just looking at it for the answer. Okay? So this is our last lesson for this week. I know it was a lot. There were 2 long lessons this week, but I know you can do it. And I will see you soon. Bye.